When I say factory farming, what image pops in your brain? Have you ever even heard the term before? If you haven't, neither have a lot of people in this day and age. I didn't know what factory farming was until approximately 6 years ago, and as soon as I discovered the gruesome details of this common practice, I cut meat on my diet and became a vegetarian. Defined by Merriam-Webster, a factory farm is a large industrialized farm, especially a farm on which large numbers of livestock are raised indoors in conditions intended to maximize production at a minimal cost. This intensive farming method came to prominence after the First World War as a means to economize the agriculture industry. Doesn't sound so bad until you find out just how terrible these profit-maximizing conditions really are. In a factory farm, animals are not regarded as living, breathing beings, but rather as a means to a profit for the suit-wearing businessmen of the agriculture industry. They are kept in extremely confined spaces, often cages, that limit their ability to move and interact with each other in a normal way. Due to the large amounts of animals in a very small space, disease often breaks out. And in fact, over 50% of the antibiotics in the world are used just to treat farmed animals. In addition to physical illness, animals also experience extreme boredom, often causing them to exhibit neurotic behaviors. For example, pigs have been known to bite on the bars of their crates or chew with an empty mouth, which can cause damage to their mouths. With developments in pharmaceuticals in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, farmers began giving their livestock drugs which allowed them to grow unnaturally fast, which would in turn allow faster and more plentiful production of animal products. However, the side effect of this was that the animals would often undergo mutilations, which would cause them great pain. In addition to the deformities caused by these drugs, farmers often perform unnatural procedures on the animals to increase production. For example, chickens are often debeaked to prevent them from pecking off their feathers. This process involves having a part of their beak, which contains a large amount of nerves, chopped off with a hot blade. As you can imagine, the pain caused from this is very intense. If the cruelties the animals undergo aren't enough to convince you that factory farming needs to be stopped, you should know that it affects you too. For one, it has a devastating effect on the environment. Waste from factory-farmed animals in the United States is dumped into open-air lagoons, which contaminates the water supply and emits harmful gases into the air. In addition, the antibiotics that the animals are fed often end up in their waste, causing contamination of crops and water. This can cause food poisoning, which afflicts 76 million Americans every year. The overuse of antibiotics has also spurred an increase in drug-resistant bacteria, which has in turn increased the amount of bacterial infections that have been deemed untreatable. Approximately 90,000 Americans die every year from these infections. Animals like cows are fed growth hormones, which have been proven to cause cancer in humans too, but the meat companies are not required to label this on the package. Are you starting to regret that burger you had for lunch yet? It's quite obvious to me that meat industries are not on our side. The men who run these organizations would rather have high profits than a healthy population. In addition, the marketing used to cover up the truth behind factory farming is profound and extremely effective. However, the main reason that they are able to get away with this is because the vast majority of our country is willing to turn a blind eye to what's really going on. When I tell people I'm a vegetarian, the most common question I get is, "Wow, how do you survive not eating meat?" My answer is that it's not as hard as you think it is. I think that smelling bacon without being able to taste it is a pretty small price to pay to save a pig from going through the horrors of intensive animal farming. It's estimated that every vegetarian saves approximately 400 animals every year. In addition to that, I often think about the money I'm withholding from the people who impose these cruelties on animals and also deceive the American population. By buying that burger earlier, you've rewarded the meat industry for the way they treat animals. By not protesting against intensive animal farming, you've given them your approval and support. I'm not telling you to become a vegetarian. However, I hope that you're fully aware now of the choice you're making and put a little more thought into whether or not those chicken nuggets are truly worth the pain and suffering of an innocent animal.